Hello everyone and welcome to this week's episode of the Aftermath series. It has been a while, so let us waste no time at all and dive right into this week's episode of Critical Role. So of course we begin this episode with the aftermath of the party discovering that Molly is indeed alive. And the party is surprised, but also not really all that surprised since he has risen from the dead before. But what is curious is that the note that the party had left Molly is gone. So Molly does have that note with him. And after a brief conversation with some nearby crabgrass, the party discovered that a small group of people came maybe about 50 days ago and performed some sort of a ritual to bring Molly back. Now, this group of people is likely the Tomb Takers. But what do they do with this information? What does the party do next? Do they contact Molly? Do they wait? Do they tell Vess about all of this new information? So many different paths to take, but ultimately, the party decides to wait before contacting Molly, and instead they decide to go straight to Vess about this new information. And so the party teleports back to Rexingtrum, where they have to wait a few hours before Vess is ready, but eventually, when she is, the party goes back to her tower, where they discuss the Tomb Takers. And upon name-dropping the Tomb Takers to Vess, she does reveal that she recognizes them, and she did in fact hire them for a job a few years back. And she also does confirm that Lucian was in fact with them. She explains how they parted ways because she wasn't really a big fan of how they handled business. They kept breaking contract, and so they went their separate ways. But ultimately, she says she's not too worried about them, even if they are going to Islecross. But this doesn't exactly put the party at ease, and so they ask Vess if they can leave a few days earlier. Vess agrees, and so the party leaves to go back to Zadash to pick up Veth's family. That evening in Zadash, as the party winds down in an inn, Jester checks up on Yasha to make sure she's alright with this newfound information. Yasha explains how she's good, however the circumstances are definitely making things a bit weird. The conversation then shifts towards Bo, where they talk about sleeping arrangements and Yasha's feelings towards her. And while we already did know there were some semblance of feelings between Yasha and Bo, but in this conversation in particular, we really got to see how much Yasha really does like Bo. And it was just super adorable to see Jester sort of helping Yasha with her feelings and Yasha being so flustered and anxious about the whole thing. It was just so adorable. Eventually, Bo does return to the room, and the disaster lesbians strike again. It is just utter gay panic. Such a wonderful scene. I cannot wait for these two kids to finally get together. In the morning, Veth talks to Yeza about his previous business relationship with Vess. Yeza explains that Vess is rather intimidating and harsh and forceful with what she was doing. Veth then promises Yeza that they will kill Vess for her once they're done with their business arrangement up north. After this conversation, the party picks up Clay's armor from Pumat Sol, and then send Luke and Yeza back to Nicodranus. The party then gathers their commissioned winter clothes, they meet back up with Vess, and then they all teleport northward to Palebank Village. The village is simple, but they don't plan on staying here too long, as their only objective here is to acquire a ship. Eventually, they settle on the icebreaker ship the Midnight Hammer, captained by Captain Kem Liard, an elf with clear dwarvish heritage. Also on this ship is a stout dwarf woman by the name of Ruega. Captain Kem tells the party that it will likely be a 7 to 12 day journey to Balin Post, so be sure to have all of the supplies you need before we embark. After the party gathers all of their supplies, they set sail, and Ford takes a moment to step aside and pray and meditate to the Wild Mother for safe passage and peaceful waters. During this meditation, the Wild Mother responds to Ford and asks him a series of questions about his goals, what he hopes to accomplish, what he really wants from life. And with this, we finally got the reveal of the oath that Ford took for his Paladin subclass. And it turns out it's a homebrew. He took Path of the Open Sea, and I am so excited to see what all of that entails. Also, during this first day of travel, Jester scries on Molly again, but unfortunately no new information was really gleaned from this scry. He just seemed to be huddled around a fire. Clay also took this time to commune with the Wild Mother, where he learned that Cree is indeed headed where the party is headed, and they are much further along in their journey. And then lastly, the Wild Mother is unsure if Vess knows more than what she was letting on. At the end of this first day, the party encountered an ice channel and a small wreckage off to the side. The party designated tasks, and they investigated this wreckage, discovering a handful of frozen bodies, a few thick pelts, and a magical scroll of protection from aberrations. Unfortunately, due to this ice channel and the bit of investigating, a day was added to this journey. Day 2, nothing too crazy happened. There just seemed to be a ridiculously thick fog that unfortunately also added a day to the journey. Day 3, it was clear skies and fair travel. Nothing terrible happened. Day 4, sadly, they encountered yet another ice channel, and another day was added to their journey. Day 5, however, came around and things took a turn. They found themselves in the middle of a heavy Arctic storm, and through this storm, Clay heard a series of clicking sounds, and the party quickly realized that they were under attack by 3 familiar-looking, heavy, large crustacean-type creatures. The fight was going fairly well for the party, but things took another turn. Boarding the ship was a familiar minion of Uk'otoa, in search of the orb that used to be inside Ford. This minion locks eyes with the amber necklace around Caleb, and dispels it, causing the amber to shatter. All of the contents within this necklace fell to the ground, including the orb. And as Ford watched the orb roll across the deck of the ship, he noticed another figure begin to climb on board. And this creature is none other than the undead version of Avantika. That is right. Oh my gosh, Avantika is back. I think we all kind of assumed that she would be back. It was just a matter of when. And her showing up in Ice Lacrosse was definitely not something I expected at all. But there we are, and that is where the episode ends. Avantika is back, and she is back for revenge. And with all of that being said, we are going to wrap up. Let me know all of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions during that episode. As always, I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you all next week.